This is David Goldie, your World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, and you're listening to the Alliance Guys podcast.
This is Lois Brain here, and I'm advising you to do yourself a favor and watch the Alliance Guys podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J Cal. We're trying something a little bit different today. A little bit different. We're not just streaming on Twitch. We're not just streaming on Kick. We're not just streaming on YouTube. We are streaming on TikTok Live. And so for the first time introducing to you, Mr. DKM, you are live on TikTok. How are you, sir?
Yeah, that's what I wanted. Live on TikTok.
You finally made it.
Well, sorry, there will be no young women shaking their booties on this show. Maybe.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Also joining us this evening will be our good pal, the man with no face, Jaden from Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. Sir, how are you this evening?
No face, but lots of heels.
Lots of heel heat, brother. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to make a Dave Dahl joke, but you kind of cut me off, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Better than Dave Dahl heat.
Yeah. Well, this, it's interesting because it looks like we are live on TikTok, even though not too many people are watching. That's all right. But this is a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. And we have our friends who are still checking us out right now on the interwebs. We are on Twitch. We are on we're on Twitch. We're on Kick. And we're on YouTube. But we appreciate you from wherever you're watching, whenever you're watching, however you're watching. Thank you for hanging out with us. Real quick, I want to say we've got a Willie Bowen joke of the day. Hi, guys. You want to know what's scary? Tyrus wearing a Speedo brief at the beach, sunbathing.
That scares me.
I feel bad for the sun.
That is asking a lot of it.
Yes. He gets an all-over tan. Unfortunately, it kills all life on the planet because there'd be no solar radiation left.
No solar, no sun, no anything fun. So I'm not sure how this looks for the folks watching on the TikTok, so I apologize in advance. I do see a few people are starting to pour in. What's up, Jarrett? Any relation to Jeff? Anywho, we are, like I said, we are the Alliance Guys. Our good pal Jeremy's in the chat, and he wants to remind all of you to say, don't forget that thumbs up, share, and after the stream, leave a comment. It helps with Al Gore's rhythm. And not only that, but he's not a woman, but he'll shake his booty for the right price. And for that, I applaud you, because $20, gentlemen, is $20. And we're here.
Also, hit that bell icon so you never miss an upload.
You'd have to pay me $20 to see it.
Oh, well, hey,
I can do $20 right now if you're paying out $20.
I could use a 20. What are you talking about? I'm just trying to look, man. I'm just trying to keep my kids off the table. You know what I'm saying? It is what
Would
it
they
is.
release you two, Kevin No-Wins?
I don't think Kevin's going to get released. I know. I'm sure the chat is already saying that over on the TikTok side. It's like, hey, it's Kevin Owens. I've been getting that all day. But no, all the releases have been announced. Well, not releases. I mean, I guess these are just contract expirations, right, DK? I mean, as of right now, the last batch of releases were a few months ago, but these are just contract expirations, correct?
Yeah, the Ron Killings, R-Truth, whatever you want to call them. Carlito. They are contract non-renewals.
Yeah.
They're not renewing the contracts. There are rumors about Miz and Karrion Kross, but both of them are said to have 2 to 3 more months on their contracts. And WWE doesn't normally say anything until about a month before. And we'll see.
Do you have any thoughts about that? I mean, do you think that Karrion Kross, do you think Miz are headed out?
Well, I have a hard time believing with Miz, just because I would have released him so long ago that it would be like, if you've kept him this long, why wouldn't you keep him forever? On the other hand, what we have to remember is that this isn't just WWE anymore. This is TKO.
Right.
The conglomerate that owns them, and they own bull riding and UFC and Power Slap and whatever all else they are involved in. And actually,
did you also mention AAA?
AAA now, but it's one of those. We can't expect just because someone had a job forever before that they're still going to have a job when the contracts come up. UFC releases people all the time, or doesn't renew contracts all the time. And so on a sports management side, that's more common. I mean, we all loved R-Truth and his comedy thing, but he's at a minimum 53 years old and possibly older.
Of course he's older. He's a vampire.
Yeah. Well, he looks the same as he did at 23, so, but anyway, my point being, with any of them, it's like, I mean, what were they doing with Carlito? He was a flunky for the Judgment Day who had no effect really whatsoever. What are they doing with Karrion Kross? I mean, I'll be honest, if I were Karrion Kross, I would want out of the WWE, minus the fact that, of course, you want the money. But, as Matt Cardona has proved, you can go make decent money, pretty good money on the independent circles if you dedicate yourself. And
I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just saying, so Miz, I would think the only thing he would do, I think, is if you don't go to AEW, for someone like Miz, then you start doing the convention circuit. I don't know many people that would actually, I mean, I would never book him as a wrestler.
I have an idea how Karrion Kross could save his job.
What's that?
Since they used Jesse Ventura on Saturday Night's Main Event, they just put his physical picture there, but they actually have Karrion Kross do the voiceover. So that way, it'll be a little bit better.
That could work.
All right.
Well, I think another thing is just get rid of Jesse Ventura. But anyhow, Jay, what are your thoughts on all these things?
That doesn't save Karrion Kross's job. But what I would say is this. Look, for The Miz, I mean, he just recently announced that he will be taking over the hosting duties on American Gladiators. So that, in and of itself, is pretty cool. And I don't know how much time he'll have left to wrestle anyway. He's also one of these guys that he's not a young man by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not saying he's old, but he is older. And similarly to Carlito and similarly to Ron Killings, none of these guys are wrestling every week. Some of them show up. Some of them make appearances. Ron Killings literally has wrestled 6 times this year on WWE programming. Now, I'm not saying that that's the end-all, be-all. Excuse me, I have to fix my fan. I'm not saying that that's the only time that he's been on television, because obviously that's not the case, but he's only appeared 6 times in a wrestling capacity for SmackDown. He's making a lot of money to wrestle only 6 times, and the cost of flying him out from town to town, the cost of having him on shows where he's not actually wrestling. Like, this is not the thing about pro wrestling, and specifically the WWE. It's a corporation. Now, when they went public back in the late 90s, obviously the business changed significantly for the WWE. And now, under TKO, I mean, we've learned this being fans of the UFC. Fight fans don't necessarily get, the fighters in the UFC don't stick around forever. And there are very few Conor McGregors in between all the fighters that are in the UFC. Very rarely do you see guys making millions of dollars in the UFC these days. It's now more like, they get paid decently. And when they lose a few fights, what happens? They're gone. Similarly, I think TKO is looking at the WWE with how much return on investment can we get from our wrestlers. And once the ROI is not high enough, that's when they're going to start letting people go. So Karrion Kross, as much as the fans are starting to get behind him, I could see him being too expensive for the WWE to keep around under the circumstances. Same thing we just saw with Valhalla. We just saw with Carlito. We just saw with Ron Killings. All of these people, it's more expensive to keep them down than what they're bringing to the table. And that's not to say that these people aren't talented. It's not to say that they won't find other jobs. But like in the case of Carlito, I mean, he's already starting to work down in Puerto Rico with the World Wrestling Council. Ron Killings could really show up just about anywhere, and I wouldn't be surprised. The Miz, even though it hasn't been confirmed or anything yet, has a job hosting the American Gladiators. And, if Karrion Kross is released from his WWE deal, I feel like that might just be the biggest fumble in recent memory. And Jade, I got to ask you, I mean, what are your feelings on these releases and potential releases of The Miz and Karrion Kross?
As we know, I'm a bit of a hockey fan.
Yeah.
And while there are exceptions like Alexander Ovechkin and Jaromir Jagr, there is a time limit on professional hockey players. Eventually, they are not able to compete at a high enough level. So either they take a big pay cut to stay on in a third and fourth line role, or as a leadership role, or as a player coach role, or they move on to other aspects. And that could mean coaches, that could mean commentators. But eventually you grow too old to be able to do it at a competitive level. That's unfortunately what's going to happen here, I think, with some of the wrestlers that are released. They still might be good. They still might be able to do what they can. But they're at that point now where they're not going to get better. They're not going to be bigger stars. Again, it's rare. Nick Bockwinkel got better as he got older, and Dustin Rhodes, I think, is the other example. But they're probably the only two examples I could think of off the top of my head. I hate to say it, like, nobody should lose a job. It'd be great. Everybody could work the job they want and love it and have the much fun and make as much money as possible. But unfortunately, that's not reality. Also, by these releases, it sucks for these guys to lose their job and their paychecks and stuff like that. But if they start doing some good releases, this is where Impact Wrestling TNA, this is where MLW, this is where NWA, this is where AEW, this is where Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators benefits, because they're able to, and independent wrestling and wrestling in general. If there was more talent on the independent wrestling circuit, a lot of these guys that they would wrestle would be getting better, because steel sharpens steel, especially one of the ones that actually still try, like Donovan Dijak. I'll use him as an example. He still gives it all, and more so.
Yeah, I mean, and when Dijak was released, I mean, he didn't have the best angle that he was involved with when he was released. I believe he was just getting off of that. What was the group's name? Retribution, I think.
Sure.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
You're correct.
that's how important it was. Is you guys barely even. You guys didn't even know. But so, like, with that being said, Jaden, I mean, I joked about it. Ron Killings coming to the coming to the NWA. They're going to be in Tampa next week. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
It's not going to be Tampa. It won't be next week. He's still got time left on his contract. I think he's good until the end of the summer, maybe, or at least maybe the end of June or end of July or something.
I think the end of June.
End of June, okay. So yeah, I don't think he's going to show up that soon, but Ron Killings will show up somewhere. It'd be funny if it wasn't even wrestling. Like he showed up on let's see, something funny like Joe Rogan's podcast and go, "Hi, Mauro Ranallo," or whatever he wants to call him, Just call, show up at random things that have nothing at all to do with wrestling and think he's somewhere else. ESPN, Playboy, or Pornhub or something. I don't care. Just show up somewhere that he doesn't realize where he is and call it something completely out of the wall. You don't even have to show up in wrestling. I think there are a lot of people who just have fun doing that alone. Show up at alliance-wrestling.com and call it Talk NWA. Nobody?
I'd take it. No, he'd call it This Is Pro Wrestling, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. Are you guys hearing me okay?
Honestly, though, it's just good for wrestling, honestly. If these guys still have something to go with and they could add something to the independent scene or any one of those companies that I listed, there's only so much talent to go around, and both AEW and WWE were trying to monopolize as much as possible. So maybe now something like this could breathe new life into GCW if they have to, or Juggalo Championship Wrestling if they have to. Everything. IHWE. And they can bring more life into any of these companies and bring them to the next level. Then I think that's a positive for the business that the business sorely needs. Any other opinions?
Having some audio issues. Can you guys hear me? You guys can't hear me.
I hear you.
Yeah, you were quiet earlier, but you're back to normal sound.
You can hear me fine now.
Yes.
Yeah. You guys can hear me fine?
Okay. Yeah, no, you've been fine. It just it sounded like my audio is having an issue, but okay.
I don't think anybody
We're good then. But I hear you.
That's sweet.
All right. So DK, we could hear you, and they're saying that they could hear Jaden, and it sounds like we're lagging a bit. Still, maybe we're not ready for TikTok yet, so I'm gonna end the TikTok stream. Hey, TikTok, thanks for checking us out. We're gonna keep working on this, and maybe we'll get it right next week. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
That's probably what it is because I'm reading your lips, and it looks like a Godzilla movie.
Oh, well, that's not good.
Oh, no. It's Godzilla.
Well, now I'm glad we're not on TikTok for that. How about, can you hear me now? Do I sound okay now?
You look fine to me.
All right.
I think it looks like Kevin Owens, personally.
Well, I was going to say, for a Make-A-Wish Kevin Owens.
Wish Kevin Owens was fine. Make-A-Wish? Jesus Christ, man. Oh, and yeah, that's it. Kicked him off the show. We won't take any of that bullshit. All right.
That's so messed up. He's back.
I think you'll think twice before calling me Make-A-Wish anything, DKM.
My browser froze.
Oh, so it was your problem all along. You're the one causing all the problems.
Sure. I take full responsibility for you being wrong.
Wait a minute now. Hold on. Wait, me being wrong about what? What am I wrong? See, you're frozen again. See, every time you say something controversial, you freeze.
I blame Elon. He's causing all kinds of problems right now.
Oh, my God. And we're not talking about that tonight. Real quick. And I said next week in Tampa, but I think it's July 1st is when they're returning to Tampa. I have it here somewhere. Maybe I have it where I can see it. The Power Tampa tapings, Tuesday, July 1st. Oddly enough, that's the same day that Championship Wrestling from Hollywood is taping. So I wonder where Big Mama will be.
I'm going to go United States.
I'm sure she will. So real quick, then let's get back to some of the comments in the chat because I don't like neglecting our friends over here real quick. Some stranger says, happy Thursday. Noob says, hello, Alliance crew. How are you doing today? Noob, I'm doing pretty good, man. Thanks for asking. Steve G's in the house. Willie Bowen's in the house. Steve G is reporting that Tormenta just won a championship. What title did she win, Steve G? Are we talking about a WoW title?
Wow.
Wow.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Tormenta or WoW? You don't know who WoW is?
I know who WoW is. I don't know who Tormenta is because I don't follow WoW, I'm assuming.
Oh, she's one of the luchadores, and I believe it's the same Tormenta who is now, I guess, in the WWE, AAA. Steve G's asking, can R-Truth go somewhere else right away since its contract expired? It is my understanding, but I'm not a lawyer, so this is just an observation, not a consultation. But if his contract expired, then he would be free to go anywhere once the contract is expired. Now he says,
if it expired June 30th, he could be somewhere else July 1st. I have just heard it expires at the end of the month, but I don't know if the end of the month is June 30th or June 27th or what.
If it's before June 28th, make sure around Killings you come to Dangerous General Wrestling Gladiators. You're very welcome if you want to. My bad, dog.
He shows up and says, "That's glad to be back on NWA Power." You're at Dangerous General Wrestling Gladiators.
Maybe NWA Dog Pound.
That'll work. Willie Bowen, not a fan of Joe Rogan.
If you had to choose, if you had to keep one, Willie Bowen, would it be Tyrus or Joe Rogan?
Oh, Nike, that's a tough question, isn't it?
No.
You get to keep one. You have to keep one.
What was that show that Joe Rogan used to be on NBC? You guys remember?
News Radio.
That's it. He was good on that. I liked him on that.
Fear Factor.
On Fear Factor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of eating people eat stuff. That was weird.
And that was his choice.
Steve G says, no, not in WoW. She won it in a 6-way matchup. Don't remember the division. Jasmine, Allure, Ray Lynn were in it also. Not familiar, Steve, but it's, congratulations to Tormenta. Good for her. Sean Mega's in the house. He says Billy is busy all summer. That's the best news for NWA fans, bar none. If Billy is busy, God, I hope that means he's not on commentary on July 1.
Watch, he'll do post-production or he'll do live from wherever he is doing commentary.
Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Our pal El Jugalo. Whoop, whoop. Kerry Martin retains the JCW heavyweight title on tonight's Lunacy episode. Did he do it for all the juggalos and juggalettes? Whoop, whoop. Do you know what that is?
You're making me sad.
Do you know what that is?
No.
Jaden, I'm sure you know who it is.
I was going to say something very inappropriate, so you might want to skip me.
The kid that jumps into stuff.
Oh, you didn't want that stupid guy who jumps into a piece of furniture?
He says, this is for all the juggalos and juggalettes. He takes off his shirt.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I never prayed for somebody getting impaled so much in my life.
Oh, but he does, too. He jumped into a cactus or whatever.
No, I mean, like, through the spine.
Oh.
Through the spinal cord, just snap it in two.
I'm going to let Jeremy says the other part. I don't want to say that on the... I don't want to get any dings or anything, but he says... It's not complaining, it's protecting these assets.
I think he called you an asshat, DK.
He did.
He said he's protecting these asshats.
Protecting these assets right here, brother. Luthez says that guy is the president of Juggalo Mensa. I miss Luthez. I wish Luthez would have came with us to Philly, but I also wish DK was in Philly. Bunch of non-Philly visitors.
Only Scooby and Big Chris Dog showed up.
Yeah. Well, I know Tim was going to come, but, with the way that getting in and out of the country is and the tariffs that were in Canada, I could get why a Canadian probably wouldn't want to spend their money in the United States right now.
Well, we were gonna have to pay a tariff on him coming in, and quite frankly, Jay's cheap.
I'm not cheap.
Would you like to be?
I'm not cheap when it comes to other people. Like, I'm cheap for myself. Like, the other day I went to Burger King because I had a free sandwich, but you had to spend $1. So I literally spent $1. Like, I bought the cheapest thing on the menu just so I get the free burger. When it's me, and it's only me, I'm cheap. But when it's for other people, I'm pretty generous.
Sweet.
Yeah, her too.
Vanilla Sensi.
Yeah, she was on. We were on TikTok together today. It was awesome.
Intentionally,
Which dances were you doing?
or did she just crash your thing?
No, so 2 weeks ago I was on TikTok with my buddy Soto 619, who's one of the co-conspirators right here on this YouTube page, and we were talking about wrestling, and Michelle popped on, and it was kind of cool just having her on. So she has a TikTok account. She's got a pretty big following. And I said, hey, let's just chit chat. And it ended up being wrestling talk, which she was absolutely bored about. But that's what's going to happen when your husband's account is mostly about wrestling. So,
Do I know you?
well, we've met twice. I've been to your house.
You should have put her in a Generico mask.
We were part of the 6-man tag champions.
That
Yeah,
is
there's
true.
only 2 of you right now. You're just regular tag champs.
See,
Someone
you should have
around
given
here-
me the title, DK. I could have taken it. I could have taken it.
I should have. I know exactly where his is. I'm not 100% sure where mine is.
I've seen Jaden twice since you've given me that belt.
All right, I got your point. You travel a lot,
You got a red shirt out of that too before I got that belt,
bitch.
bitch.
Oh
What
my
are you?
God.
What are you, Tanahashi or whatever his name was?
No, that's my own gimmick. My own gimmick is you say something, you have a pause, and then you go, bitch.
I don't use that word.
Well, considering you live in a household full of women, I wouldn't either, because then they would all go, what, at the same time.
Did you just literally call every woman in my life a B word? Because
No, I've called every woman,
I'm
every female.
gonna put you in timeout, DK,
I'm-
until you get in a cooler.
I'm
That-
old. I'm old and bitter. I'm old, divorced, and bitter.
Being
Where's the
bitter is
cloud?
fine. Just don't be angry.
Yeah,
My
that'll work.
my
Oh,
my
No
family's
problem.
been nothing. My family's been nothing but kind to you, old bitter sir.
yeah.
Get your shit straight, buddy.
DK
Maybe
should
next-
change his background in the clouds.
Maybe next Thursday.
I'm not counting on it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have a separate scene, and it's just gonna be a big cloud. And so when DK gets like this, we'll all just back out, and it'll just be the cloud and him yelling at it. And I think that would be great.
So what happened on Power this week? We get the
Are
damn
we
thing
already
over
there?
with.
We're already.
I'm
talking
trying to
about
get the damn
Power?
thing over with.
We're still kind of hoping that our pal Rick Del Santo will be here, but I know he's running a little bit behind. My phone has been acting so crazy. I've been sending messages all day and people aren't getting them, and it's really disappointing. Let me
Who's
see
your
what
service
he said.
provider?
So what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
It means that I was checking to see if Rick is still going to be on tonight because he said, I sent Rick stuff that I thought I was sending you guys. What the I don't even know anymore.
Have you restarted your phone recently?
Yeah, but this is on the PC now, so I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know, man. I don't know. This just did. DK yells at clouds. Footage at 11.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
jeez.
Nobody cares.
So what happened on Power this week?
Nobody cares.
It was actually a pretty good episode. DK, did you watch it?
I did. I watched the whole thing, start to end.
I watched
What'd
the
you
end,
think?
and that's it.
What'd you say, Jay?
What did you think of it?
Well, I'll sum it up like this. Everything that wasn't a wrestling match sucked. Everything that was Billy on commentary sucked. Normal commentary wasn't that good because of Billy. The first two matches were very eh. The last match really, really, really pissed me off, but not for the reasons that people might think. It pissed me off because it was a good match with a good story that fed into stuff for the future. And it's like, why the fuck can they not do that all the time with all the matches?
That's a legitimate gripe, and I kind of agree with you on that. Well, no, I don't kind of. I 100% agree with you on this one. They know how to do it. It's not like they're incapable of having an interesting way to build up storyline. They just have been dragging their feet to do it. And it's funny. Earlier today, I was on TikTok, and I was trying to do a watch along on Power, and I started off with like 20 people, and by the second skit, I had nobody in the chat. Go figure, right? And the thing I kept apologizing for is like, the NWA has great talent. There's great talent in the NWA, but they're not being utilized in a way that's benefiting them. And I don't know who to write a strongly worded letter to. I don't know who is listening to my complaints, but I will say this, like, it's not the talent. When I'm watching Power, I don't go, gosh, I wish they had better wrestlers. I mean, okay, there are some guys you could say that about, but about 80% of the people on the roster are pretty solid.
Yes.
Owen
Hart, Mick Foley once asked Owen Hart what it was like to wrestle Dan Severn. And Owen Hart said, he's a really nice guy.
Oh, shit.
And Mick says, I didn't ask you that, Owen. I wanted to know how it was to wrestle Dan Severn. And he goes, well, he was a really, really nice guy. He's like, Owen, I just don't want to know that. I want to know what he's like to wrestle. He's like, Mick, listen to me. He's a really nice guy. That's kind of like you saying, the NWA's got good wrestlers. But the booking's horrible. Yeah, but they got good wrestlers. Same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to argue with that, right? Because when you're watching, look, any wrestling content, it's not just about one thing, right? You kind of have to have all, right? You have to have talented individuals in the ring, but you also have to have talented individuals outside of the ring. You need to have people who are competent, people who know what they're doing. And wrestling isn't just about the people who are fighting inside of the ring. There needs to be a complete package. And when you can see that the NWA is starting to plant seeds for Crockett Cup, and this show is all about planting seeds for Crockett Cup. Now, this was hard times, Daddy. This was hard times, but it very much felt like this was a pre-show for the Crockett Cup, which I think that's kind of how it should be, right? DKM, I mean, like, you got to plant a little seeds and have it nurtured and watered so you get flowers for the next event. Am I crazy in thinking that? Like, enlighten me, DK.
No, I mean, you're right. Here was the biggest problem with the first match, was a multi-person tag match for the number 2 seed, which is the stupid way to get a number 2 seed, but okay.
Yes.
That's what they're doing.
Yes.
I watched that Tuesday. When was Crockett Cup?
About a month ago.
Yeah, what the blank do I care about a multi-person tag match for the number 2 seed. Oh, I don't. How am I supposed to get into it?
You might care if you didn't have some great people in the audience giving your spoilers, though. If you didn't know what happened, maybe you would care.
Well, see, here's the thing. If I had the ability to watch the show like on a live stream, on a pay-per-view, although I don't know if I'll ever buy another pay-per-view again. But in other words, if that was an opportunity, whether I buy it or not, then that's a legitimate thing. Or even if it was going to, even if if this match had taken place before Crockett Cup. But I can't, I'm not going off the grid of the internet.
Yeah.
So something has to happen. I have no idea why I'm blurry on YouTube, but I look perfectly fine on the studio.
You look blurry on my end, too.
Yeah. Well, on my end, I look perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Simply ravishing.
I'm going to hide for a second. It's starting to bother me. But anyway, so yeah,
I don't mind being center stage. I'm handsome.
As long as you think so. Anyway, it was difficult to get into that match. It was because of that. And so even the final match for the national title, it was setting up a match that was going to take place at Crockett Cup. But, in the isolation of that event, I don't like multi-person, multi-tag matches. And it was at least elimination, which I prefer, but it was still kind of more than I would have wanted. And again, a stupid way to determine a number 2 seed. Even Rectal Santo would know better than to determine the number 2 seed that way. And oh, hey, Rick, I didn't see you were there. And it's just, I don't know. Overall, in isolation, I thought the match was With everything else added on to it, I thought the match was bah.
So, and Rick, I'm going to ask you the same question in just a minute, but I was watching it. Like I said, I watched it today. I tried to do a watch along on TikTok, which it started out, Rick. I had like 20 people in the chat because I had been on TikTok earlier today. So I had this nice flow going. And then when the show started, you saw the people exit the chat very quickly. And it's like, this is wrestling, like I have wrestling people who follow my page. We do a lot of WWE talk on TikTok because a lot of more people on there are familiar with the WWE. I'm trying to get people to know about the NWA. I'm actually doing the NWA's job for them, to be quite honest. I'm putting more NWA related content out on TikTok than the NWA is putting out on TikTok. Yeah. So when I see guys like, that tag team match was the Colognes. That tag team match was the Immortals, Blunt Force Trauma, and Talos and Daisy Kills. I mean, all these tag teams I think are really fundamentally above average. And I mean that all across the board. I think all of them are above average. After witnessing Crockett Cup, I think maybe it's time that we do something different with BFT. And I think it's maybe time to split up Daisy, Kill, and Talos as a tag team. But by and large, they're all pretty good tag teams. And I really like the Immortals. And I was trying to explain to them on TikTok, like the Immortals are kind of like a modern day version of the Legion of Doom. At least the NWA Lightning One era, it's their version of the Legion of Doom. They go out there, they're big. They hit people. They're stiff. And if you don't like them when you first see them, you're going to learn to respect them because they bring such power and tenacity to the ring. But watching Blunt Force Trauma, they aren't even as good as they were a year ago. Talos and Daisy, like Talos is just now coming back or just went on a tour of All Japan Pro Wrestling. That'd be a great time to split up him and Daisy and let Daisy kind of meander in the mid card and see what you can do with Talos. Maybe this trip from Japan might improve him as a wrestler. But I didn't hate the tag team match. I didn't. I thought it was pretty good. And I like the idea that they were trying to, again, to DKM's point, Crockett Cup happened in real time 3 or 4 weeks ago, but we're not going to see that on TV for at least another 4 weeks. So, at least with the taping schedule, like they planted the seed for the Crockett Cup. And I like that. Rick, I think you're frozen, my friend.
I am. Sorry about that. I'm frozen, stuck in this position.
Well,
can you hear me? Can you hear me at least?
I hear you fine. You sound good.
Okay, let's see.
I'm gonna make you look smaller. That way, people don't notice that you're not moving.
Okay. Wonderful. I can do this. Look at that. My
my
lovely
shirt.
picture. Yeah.
It's a good. At least it's a nice picture of you.
I love that pic. Yeah.
It's a good pic. I find it weird that Jaden left and then you came on, Rick. It's like if I didn't know any better. I think you guys
it's weird.
same place, different time. Like what's going on here?
I had so much to do today, so I apologize for my tardiness. It's been a crazy week, so
first and foremost, you never have to apologize for having a life. We appreciate you being on here. And anytime that life gets in the way of the podcast, please don't even think twice about it. Secondly, we got to Power early because honestly, there's not a whole lot to talk about right now with the NWA outside of Power. So first and foremost, I want to get your hot take on this opening tag team elimination match for the number 2 seed at the Crockett Cup.
I'm not a big fan of multi-way matches. I think they're overdone, but I thought that this was a lot of fun. And it was a lot of fun for me. I thought it was kind of out of the ordinary for me to actually like it. I love Kratos and Odinson, and I think they're great. Blunt Force Trauma, yes, they're kind of weakened over time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Billy referred to the Colognes as being one of the most legendary tag teams in the history of professional wrestling. And literally, I just yelled out, no, the hell they're not. So, I just thought it was strange. And but I thought it was a fun match. These random rules that he makes up for Crockett Cup or whatever big thing he's got coming up, it's just, I don't know. I don't care for it too much, but I thought the match was pretty fun.
So, Epico and Primo held the WWE Tag Team Championship back in 2012 for 106 days.
Okay.
106 days to me doesn't equal one of the greatest tag teams of all time,
No.
let alone we're going back to 2012 and just for giggles, I'm going to find out, they lost the titles to Kofi Kingston and R-Truth, and they won the titles from Evan Bourne and Kofi Kingston. So just to kind of put that in perspective, I said they held the titles for 106 days, but they only had 4 title defenses. So again, in a day and age where you can look things up, you can fact check in real time, Billy really needs to do his homework or just shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And I got to say that it's like that booth would be a great booth if it wasn't for him. Joe Galley is phenomenal at what he does.
Yeah.
He's got a great partner with Danny Deals. I think they're one of the greater commentary teams out there in today's professional wrestling world. So, yeah, that's pretty much that.
Real quick,
How many times WWC Tag Team Champions are they, though?
Not as often as you think. They held the titles from June 20th, 2020 to January 17th, 2021. So they won the titles in the middle of COVID. Oh, excuse me. I apologize. That is the Coastal Championship Wrestling Tag Titles. As a team, the Colognes never have held the World Wrestling Council titles.
Interesting.
At least as a tag team. And I'm looking here, and Primo held the World Tag Team Championship with Carlito, and I don't know where that was. Let me check real quick. Yeah, that was the WWE World Tag Title. So Primo has held multiple titles. Primo has held the FCW before NXT tag team titles. They held the Unified Tag Team titles with Carlito, and Primo and Epico have only held the WWE tag titles, but Primo with Carlito held both sets of titles, and then held the Puerto Rican championships quite a bit too. So again, it's revisionist history, and Billy will believe what Billy wants to believe, and Billy will say what Billy wants to say. I feel like that definitely hurts the broadcast. And again, when we can fact check these things in real time, it doesn't sound good.
He's McMahonning his own history. If McMahon would ignore the history and just create stuff or ignore stuff, and that's pretty much what he did in a way.
Yeah. We did kind of skip over the opening segment, and I mean, I still think it should be talked about because it wasn't like there was a thread on X, and I forgot the person's name. And if you're watching right now, sorry, you made a great point. I can't remember your user ID right now, but he said, like, who from the NWA thought, I know, I'm going to start a wrestling show on X, and for the first 5 minutes, it's going to be not wrestling. And this, again, if this was WWE, I would still think, like, maybe, I don't know, have a match before we get this segment. I mean, look, the WWE has done similar things in the past. We had, Daniel Bryan and Kane with the, anger management classes, and that's kind of what this was. Trying to stay positive, and for whatever reason, they partnered Gags the Gimp with Natalia Markova. They put Brian Idol and Silas Mason with each other, and then they put little tiny Hunter Drake with the Brahma Bull there, not Brahma Bull, but Bull of the Woods, AJ Kazana, and it didn't make it a lick of sense, right? But that's how they did it. And when it came down to it, the back and forth between Idol and Mason was pretty good, but like it took a while to get there. And the thing that kills me about it is Mason is so good on the mic that he makes Brian Idol somewhat interesting. Somewhat. A tiny bit. And because I'm not an Idol fan, and I've made that very clear on this show, I'm not a Brian Idol guy, but when he's cutting promos with Silas Mason, he gets a little better. He elevates his game a little bit. And if that's how they started this show, I would have been a lot more happier than this dumb segment.
Sorry. When it started, I was like, I wasn't even sure it was the NWA show. Like, I thought there was going into a commercial, and then they focus on the group of people. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, what in the hell is going on here? And it went on for a good 5 minutes, and it was just the most ridiculous thing ever, like, on earth. And I think that there's a couple segments like that throughout the show that kind of, I thought it was a decent show wrestling wise. I thought it was actually probably one of the best wrestling wise shows that they've had in a long time. And I thought that those segments just kind of brought it down a couple levels in a way. Especially this one. This one was just god awful. So,
and the other thing that I thought was, so when it started for me, like you, I was like, wait, is this for me? I was like, is this a commercial? Cool. I mean,
yeah,
it is the 1st of June. June is, along with being Pride Month, it's also Men's Mental Health Month. And I thought, oh, okay, maybe this is like a commercial for men's mental health. That's great. Good job, NWA. I can appreciate that, because you're predominantly a male audience, yeah, that's great. That wasn't the case. And it just got to a point where I was like, I don't know, man, this is, you could have just took that 5 minutes and put them in Dotham in the ring like they were at, I think it was Tampa the last time, where, Mason and Idol were in the ring together, and it was tense and it was heated, and it was something that I thought looked really cool on TV. And I feel like that would have been a good idea.
Who's writing this stuff? That's the other thing. And who thinks that? Is it Billy that says, "Hey, I've got an idea for a show," and then let's write this out? And it's like, there's nobody there to say, "Billy, that's not a good idea."
I'm actually going to put money on Pat Kenny. I think it's like those Miserloo skits they used to do in NWA-themed, except it's not Paul Heyman coming up with them, or that. And Pat Kenny was a good wrestler when he was Simon Diamond, but he also put himself in an interesting menagerie of freaks and weirdos, and that pretty much describes the NWA right now. And I think he's trying to do the same thing. He's trying to recreate those Miserloo skits that the ECW used to do, but without any ability or sense or any purpose to it. I might be wrong, but I just get that feeling.
I mean, I didn't love what I was seeing.
That's because it was bad.
Yeah, well, look. I tried to excuse the NWA a couple months ago when they started introducing these really poorly done segments, and I said, look, I can appreciate that they're trying to tell the stories a little bit differently. They've had time now to pivot, and I understand that these were probably already filmed, but that doesn't mean they have to be shown. And I feel like that's another big problem with the NWA is, I don't know if it's Billy's ego or if it's that they don't want to waste money, but like, hey, the segments, they didn't hit. The audience is complaining about these really bad moments of TV, and I don't know, trim it out, and give us a match.
Yeah, give us more action, or give us. Why is there no backstage interviews? Like, those would make more sense to me than skits, little skits like this. Reminds me of Glow in a way, and not in a good way. So
I get what you're saying.
I mean, I feel like Billy's been going back and watching old wrestling stuff from, like WCW in its worst period. A lot of the backstage WWE shit. I mean, it's just, and he sits there and looks at the worst stuff possible and goes, "Oh, this is kind of cool." Or TNA when they used to do some of the stuff. I blame the Hardys in that damn broken universe.
Yeah, I mean, they were kind of. I don't think they started, but they definitely took the ball and ran and made it bigger than it was at one point.
Well, they were like Ray Kroc with McDonald's. They took someone else's idea and turned it into a $1 billion franchise or whatever, and you can buy a burger at McDonald's, but then you have to eat it.
Got a point.
And it's kind of the same with this. I mean, it's like he goes out and he finds all this bad crap and goes, "Oh, well, let's try this." Well, you're not doing it today. Why are you trying it?
Yeah.
I mean, has it not dawned on you that, this shit didn't get over back then?
And the company is not growing either. It's just getting, at least to my knowledge, it's not growing. It's going down, and it's not, you should just be like, we need to do something here. Because right now, I think, is the time they need to do something. They need to bring in, like, somebody that's like a really good booker. Anybody. You know what I mean?
Well, he needs to spend a little bit of money. And well, first, here's the first thing, and this is the bad part, because this is what's never going to have to happen. This is what's never going to happen, is he has to acknowledge he is not the best choice to run the wrestling portion of this business. If he wants to give broad ideas and thoughts and whatever, maybe he can do that. But somebody else is going to have to execute it. And so that's one thing. He needs to go back. He needs to get off commentary. He doesn't make sense. He doesn't sound good. He comes across as a moron. He can't explain his own stipulations or why things are happening. And now this, it's just like, dude, spend some money, get some talent that somebody's going to talk about. And in the long run, that's not our truth. It's not Carlito. If someone like Karrion Kross got out of the WWE, he's somebody who you might, at least, I don't know how old he is, but he's somebody you might be able to build.
Well, wait a second though, DK, because think of it this way. You're right. Karrion Kross would be a game changer for the NWA, but 100%. Why the hell would Karrion Kross want to come to the NWA? Let's be realistic. I'm going to be honest. Do you remember Jim Cornette when he first started Smoky Mountain and Ric Flair was leaving? Was fired from WCW or whatever the situation was, and so there was talk about offering Ric Flair like $20,000 a month to come in to wrestle one time as the champion.
Right.
And I'm talking about a situation like that where you turn Karrion, and he doesn't have to be exclusive, obviously, but where you offer Karrion Kross enough money or somebody with some value, enough money to come in and be the world champion or whatever, and then let that person build up Silas Mason to eventually win the title. But he's got to do something to get some eyes on it. And then when he gets eyes on it, he needs to have a good product. It doesn't do any good to get 1 million people to watch it if your product sucks.
So I guess my question to you is, in your opinion, and I know you've worked with wrestling promotions in the back, you've helped scout talent, and you're moving forward with, iconic heroes of wrestling excellence. You're saying to me that you don't think Ron Killings could be a guy, not the guy, but a guy to bring a spark back to the NWA?
I think he could get some attention, but he's not somebody you could build the company around.
I think that if they brought him in, it'd be a short-time deal, couple appearances. I don't think they'd be able to afford to keep him as a full-time talent.
Honestly, it's been a long time since I've seen Ron Killings wrestle any length of a match. Most of his stuff in WWE over the last few years, even in his tag team run with Miz, wasn't, he wasn't putting on classics out there, putting on, 20, 30-minute matches or 10, 15-minute matches in some cases. And so I don't know what Ron Killings, he's somebody that can make people talk, but I don't know if he's somebody that will grab attention.
Well, now this is an interesting conversation, and you've piqued my interest a lot, because is a prerequisite of somebody to build a company around has to be somebody that could put on like a 5-star match.
Well, I don't like terms like that, because
sure, okay, that somebody
Dave Meltzer's ruined it. It's got to be, look, Jim Crockett Promotions, 85 through 90, 89, or even 88 when they sold it. The question becomes, if it's not Ric Flair as your world champion, what would it have been? Who could have been? Who's going to fill that thing? You need someone you build around that either the fans love or the fans hate. And with Ric Flair, they hated. With Hulk Hogan, they loved. I mean, I don't care for Hulk Hogan the man, but I'm not going to rewrite history.
Sure, and no one's asking you to, by the way. Not here, anyways.
Yeah, but, Hulk Hogan drew a hell of a lot of money. And it was like the old thing: who was a better wrestler, or what was a better wrestling match? Pro wrestler in a better pro wrestling match. Was it Savage versus Steamboat, or was it a very old, very decrepit Andre versus versus Hogan? Well, however many people they got in that stadium, be it 80,000, 93,000, or 69,000, or whatever you want to claim, they were there to see Hogan Andre.
And I don't question that at all. But I mean, I think that lends more to what I was just suggesting, that let's take money out of the conversation, right? Let's say Billy has the finances to do something. He could bring in Carlito, or he could bring in Ron Killings, or he could bring Natty Neidhart back in. I feel like clearly a person from the WWE is going to be a draw because of who they are, where they've been, especially at that caliber of a talent. Has Miz done anything meaningful in the WWE in the last decade? No. But if you put him into an NWA ring and make him a legitimate challenger for Tom Latimer, hell, even puts Aaron Stevens in his corner, maybe borderline reunite Miz and Mizdow. I mean, there are things that they could do that I think if the NWA fans saw, they'd be like, oh, I'm going to go see that. I got to see what Miz is going to do in the NWA. I'm not saying that you're going to have the best wrestling match in the world, but I am going to say that people would be interested. And then for me, and again, I speak for myself, not for the community, when I look at someone like Ron Killings, who is a two-time former NWA world champion, the first and really outside of Tyrus, the only Black NWA world champion, I think that putting Truth in that title picture, putting Truth in a match with Tom Latimer is going to get some attention, positive attention.
Yes.
Well, two things.
Sure.
2 things real quick.
Yeah.
And then I'll let Jaden talk. But 2 things real quick. This goes back to the age-old question of, would you rather have Sid Vicious or would you rather have Arn Anderson? Sid Vicious is going to make you a lot of money for a year.
Yeah.
But then after that, probably not. Arn Anderson, over 10 years, is going to make you a hell of a lot more money, but never in one night. And, Karrion Kross, I just looked it up. He's 39 years old.
Yeah.
R-Truth is, again, at a minimum, he's 53.
At least.
And there are people that think he's older. And I don't know how old he was when he broke into the business. I don't know when he broke into the business. I haven't done any of the research. But, people always thought Sonny Liston was older than what he purported to be in boxing. But, so can you get a flash in the pan and a lot of attention if you bring in R-Truth or even Miz and reunite him with Aaron Stevens? Sure. In a year, will anybody really still be interested in them? Probably not. Could you take someone like Karrion Kross and build him the way Nick Aldis was? And it's been a while since I've seen Karrion Kross truly work in the ring outside of WWE. but I remember liking him. So I mean, I would think there's a better possibility, and you could get more out of Karrion Kross in the long run than you maybe not even on a first show. Truth may draw more, but over the course of a few years, Kross would draw more. Personal opinion, can't prove anything. That's what I think. So, Jaden, give us your opinion so I can go take drugs and other stuff.
Jesus. Just says it. Just gonna go do a line, gonna take a bump. Different kind of
Yeah,
bump.
I wish. These are all prescriptions. So.
Back in the 40s, they used to prescribe that stuff.
Well,
could have got it in a drink, soft drink too.
Yeah, it's true.
What was I talking about?
We were talking about, I mean, at the crux of it, we were talking about could somebody from the WWE right now be an impact maker for the NWA? I mean, we're all in agreement. I think we've all said yes, but with varying degrees of, DK doesn't see value long-term with Ron Killings. And I don't think I disagree with him long-term, but I think in the short term, I guess this all started because Rick said that the NWA needs to do something to take a big step forward. Crockett Cup felt like that to me, but I mean, we won't know until we actually see it again. Anniversary show's just around the corner.
Have they announced a location for that yet, or no?
No.
Okay.
No, not yet.
If you're going to ask my opinion, though, honestly, what I think, I don't think there's a wrestler in business right now that could outdraw Billy's bad booking. So,
wow.
If you want my honest opinion, that should be the first change that needs to be done, is get somebody competent as a booker. Then maybe worry about bringing in somebody in, because they already kind of, in my opinion, dropped this whole ball. So I don't even say booker, somebody in charge of everything that goes on the day-to-day. Somebody of wrestling operations. Because they already dropped the ball, in my opinion, with Natty and Rhino and Crazy Steve and Hammerstone and Earl Hebner, and I know Gail Kimden wasn't there, but she was originally scheduled. They've already dropped the ball with that, in my opinion. Nobody's talking about it anymore. They talked about it before it happened, and I'll talk about it for a few days after, but it's right on to everybody forgot all about it. And that's because they weren't able to capitalize, and now 3, 4, 5, 7 months from now, maybe we'll see it. To bring back deja vu. But I think that ship has already sailed, and I think it's fundamentally the complete package of the NWA and why that has. And until that has changed, until somebody again can repackage the company to do something proper and do things the right way, it's just a lost cause. Hot take.
I mean, that's a hot take. I'm just gonna say my piece if that's okay with everybody. I understand what DK's saying, that if you only had one choice, you only had one option, somebody like Karrion Kross could do a lot more long term for the company. But I think trying to pop a crowd, trying to get some eyeballs in the interim. Yeah, I think R-Truth is that guy. First and foremost, Karrion Kross isn't even a free agent yet, but we know that Ron Killings has announced that he will not be re-signing with the WWE. We know that The Miz will not be re-signing with the WWE. In my opinion,
we don't know that about The Miz.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said Miz. I meant Carlito. Excuse me. You're right. 100%. My bad. My bad, dog. See, I'm already doing my R-Truth. Thanks for the cheap pop, Rick. But I just think that long term, I mean, I don't think the NWA can really afford to think about long term. I think the NWA needs to get the ball rolling hasta pronto. And maybe you're right, Jade. Maybe they cannot outbook the bad booking, right? They can't put a name on the poster that's going to draw better than Billy's booking is hurting them. But I feel like, we saw it firsthand. We were at Crockett Cup, you and I both, Jaden. We saw Natty Neidhart bring a crowd to that Philly arena. I don't know where they're going to be for the anniversary show. A lot of speculation in Chicago. I'm not saying, I can't speak to what they're going to book, how they're going to book it, but if they had more time with Natty, I felt like that would have gotten more people to pay attention. I think if you brought in R-Truth and actually gave him something more than just a, hey, this is Monday Night Raw, right? Oh, no, I'm in Dotham, Alabama. Like, I get it. Like, you can't just do that. It's got to be something meaningful. But I absolutely think if you brought in R-Truth, you could get that pop. You get people talking about you, and who knows what could happen. Again, to your point, Jaden, it's something's got to change within the booking committee. They got to figure something else out. It's not working. And the last thing I'll say before we get back to Power is our very own Rick Del Santo 12 hours ago said, okay, watching this week's NWA here on X, let's see if I end up throwing my laptop out the window. 4 hours ago, our own pal Kyle Davis said, how's that laptop holding up? And Rick honestly said, hey, still together. Good show mostly. I like how you threw in the mostly. Did not let them get off the hook. And then Church's Money even jumped in and said, absolutely, you witnessed the winner's circle and another successful national heavyweight title defense for my guy. So, I mean, even the NWA management doesn't know. They're not turning a blind eye to this. They absolutely are seeing that not exactly a good look for them right now. And even like Kyle Davis even wrote after Rick's post about still together, good show mostly. He says, I'll take any enjoyment anyone gets as a win. Moments matter, and thank you for watching the show. So, I mean, they're acknowledging that they realize that there are moments that you might not like.
He knows. Trust me, he knows.
They have to.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of the people are like, what is this? Like that segment today. Like, why is this on the show? But, they're getting paid. So they just kind of let the boss do what the boss is doing. That's with any job.
Yeah. And that's the scary part to me because, in any business, right? In any business, you have to be as a business owner myself, and I'm not Billy Corgan. I never went platinum on a record. I never toured the world with my skills and talent. But as a business owner, the simple common denomination is, do I have a service that people are willing to pay for? That's the first thing. The second thing is, if I don't know what I'm doing, do I spend the time, effort, and energy to learn how to do it? Or do I hire someone to do it? So, real life example, I rent buckets. One of my best employees went away for a while. I tried to hire a welder and he sucked. So I went to welding school for about 2 weeks. And guess what? Your boy Jay isn't good at welding. So you know what I did? I hired a welder because I knew that I could spend more money trying to learn how, or I could just try to do it and see what happens, or I could hire somebody. And yeah, it's going to cost more money. I'm not going to make as much money now, but my product will be a much better product than if I tried to do it myself. That is a great analogy. Someone give me a raise. Damn, that was great. Billy is very talented at very many things. That guy can do a lot of good. He's a great musician. He's a great songwriter. Look, the fact that he was able to buy the NWA just shows you how successful the Smashing Pumpkins has been.
Yeah.
But booking wrestling is not his forte. Maybe being on a committee, maybe pitching ideas, maybe having a soundboard to bounce ideas off of, but being the booker, I don't know, man.
Who bringing somebody like an older guy or whatever, like an old timer that is retired from the ring or whatever and just was very good at their job. What about Bob Roop? Just random name thrown out there.
Is Bob Roop still alive? I don't mean that disrespectfully.
No, he does a podcast. It's a very good podcast as well. So, yeah, he Bob Roop, whatever, Tom Pritchard, anybody, you know what I mean? I think Tom Pritchard has booking experience as well.
Well,
you know,
the the crazy thing is they brought in Tom Pritchard a few years ago.
If they did, yeah.
Dr. Tom. But you know what improved?
He
Nothing.
he probably was like, this guy's a moron and got the hell out of there. I mean, just an opinion.
I mean, he probably cashed a few checks and then said, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, bringing somebody in versus letting somebody actually do the job.
True.
I mean, those are different things. So that he brought in Tom Pritchard meant nothing, because I doubt Tom Pritchard ever actually booked. So,
and I know, I'm sorry, DK.
Well, I was just going to say, because Jay was talking about, like running a business and something like that, and I'm going to tie two of my worlds in together. For those of you who don't know who Meghan Markle is, go Google her. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, married Prince Harry. Well, she gets a lot of criticism, justly, for a lot of the things that she does. But one of the things is she keeps starting like all these businesses or websites or whatever, and they don't go anywhere and they don't do anything. And somebody said, she's not a business person. She's a hobbyist. And, there's enough money in the family there that, she can do that. And I feel like Billy, despite what he thinks, he's not a wrestling person trying to run a wrestling company. Mm-hmm. He's a hobbyist again, this is said about Tony Khan too. He's somebody who's playing with live action figures. And I've said it a billion times, and I'll say it a billion more. Tony Khan is not interested in running a successful wrestling company. He wants what he does to be successful. Mm. He's not interested in the NWA being a success. He wants to do everything, and then he wants what he does to be a success.
Right.
Life don't work that way. I don't care if you did music that way. Doesn't mean you can do that. Doesn't mean you can do this. You know what? I was a pretty damn good software admin. You know what I wasn't really good at? Fixing printers. If anyone's ever watched Office Space.
Yeah, that's about exactly the way I was going to go with that one. Office Space printers. That's how I fix them.
Yeah, that's me and my fixing of it. My normal answer is to either, give me a hammer or give me a match, and I will fix it. And I'll fix it by making sure the new one's purchased. But I was good at what I did, and a lot of people told me I was, but I was very bad when it came to printers. And that's even in the same quote unquote field. I guess you can say entertainment is a big field, and so he's sort of in the same field. But Billy's not a booker. Billy's not even really a promoter.
No, we know the promoter is Brian Idol. Brian Idol's out there doing the promoting. What is Billy doing? I don't know, man. Commentary.
Cashing or signing checks.
Checks. That's what Billy's good for, is hand over the cheddar, boss.
Are these people that are doing, is it Brian Idol that's booking these terrible storylines, or is it Billy that's just be like, let's do this?
So I think it's like in the olden days, you had the promoter and then the booker, right? The booker was the one putting the matches together. Promoter was the one putting in the work to get his show out there. So I think Idol very much is the promoter for the NWA. I think Dotham happens because of Brian Idol. I think everything that they're doing now, they were in Sacramento for the Grilled Cheese Fest. I guarantee you that was Brian Idol. I feel like Idol's the guy making stuff happen to get the show out there, right? But in terms of like booking wrestlers and talents, Billy said that he, when he sees guys out there, the first thing he asks is who trained them. And it's like, it's a very old school mentality, but then you're like, wait, you don't bring in this guy insert any wrestler you don't like in the NWA currently, even if you knew who the trainer was. It doesn't, that's insignificant. Is this guy gonna make money for me? And then making those connections and the stories that go with it.
I have a quick segue, which may or may not be quick.
Second.
Did I see that Ricky Morton shutting down his wrestling school?
The School of Morton. He is leaving the School of Morton. I believe the school is still going to be intact with new trainers, and I believe that oddly enough, it's
AJ Kazana and one of the pages. Sorry,
Casey Kazana and Kylie Page.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So
But it's changed to Smoky Mountain Pro, is what it's now called.
Which is funny because there used to be a Smoky Mountain in that area that's now going by Innovative.
Oh, okay. That's the same company. Okay. That was the NWA affiliate at one point?
No. I don't know if there's a connection between the two.
Okay.
But yeah, that was Innovative was Tony Given's Smoky Mountain. That's where Chase Owens came from. They had the junior heavyweight title there. Jason Kincaid.
And I think prior to that, they were championship wrestling, I think, right? Or something like that.
That I don't know.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, they were like CWA or something like that.
Something, yeah.
Which they stole from another old wrestling promotion there.
Of course. And I think Dr. Tom
was their only original name. I think everything else was basically taken from somewhere.
If I remember correctly, Tom Pritchard was associated at one point. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I remember seeing him on the TV doing stuff. But I'm going back like years and years and years ago. So
that I don't know, and that I guess we'd have to just kind of find out.
Well, and they kind of merged with another promotion at one point.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, that's all I was wondering about. I saw something in passing earlier and never had a chance to go back and look. So School of Morton still exists. It might be Smoky Mountain Pro now.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now, and it is
now 20-year-olds are the trainers.
Yeah. So
okay, I'm done. Sorry, Jaden. I guess it will be quick. Send the $100.
It wasn't quick.
It's weird.
Jay's still looking.
Can you guys hear me or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It's weird. I was looking at their information and I did see at one point Casey Kazana and Kylie Page were connected to the school, the new promotion, but I couldn't find the press release anywhere. So I mean, and that was a slight churn. We were talking about how when we watched Power this week, DK was pissed because he saw them do something right and wanted to know why it took so long to get there and why they can't do that on a more regular basis. And that was because of the main event. But we'll get to the main event in just a minute. Obviously, there was a little bit more wrestling going on, a little bit more promos and all that good stuff. We get the Joe Kazana segment where he did look like the Colonel with the Country Gentleman and Silas. And it felt like they were trying to go for that same moment where Silas got over like a superstar on that local Tennessee television show. But they weren't in Tennessee. They were in Dotham, Alabama. And Joe Kazana only could think about Alabama peanuts. and it wasn't a big fan of the Roll Tide, kept bringing up the Tennessee Volunteers. This was again, I tried watching this on TikTok with my TikTok followers. And one of my followers says, this is the cringiest backstage promo I've ever seen. And I can't argue with that. It was the worst. And Rick, you saw it. DK, you saw it. Jaden, thank God you were blessed not to see it. What was this trying to put over? Like, was this trying to make Joe Kazana look like a bigger buffoon? Was that what they wanted to do?
It was just horrific. This was the other segment in the show that I couldn't care less, that should have been just pulled from the show and I mean, it wasn't as bad as the opening. Let me just say that much.
No.
So, but it was still bad. It was supposed to be comedic. It wasn't funny. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't want to just completely rip into it 100%, but it was just yeah, it was just bad. It was just bad. And, you know, it was supposed to be a news segment, and then he was asking to redo it. And I was just like, he came, like you said, he came off as just being a buffoon and just dumb.
It didn't make anybody look good.
Right.
Like, and even if you were trying to put Joe Kazana as a buffoon, you know, like a lot of times WWE scripted the storyline to make Bobby Heenan look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Because it's counterintuitive. He's the brain, but he's making all these dumb decisions. You know, if that's what they were trying to do with Joe Kazana, it just still fell flat. Talking about Alabama peanuts, I don't know. Is that something like a stereotypical thing with Alabama? Does that piss people off in Alabama?
That I have no clue. I was kind of lost in that segment when just talking about the peanuts like that.
And then he says to the host, who, and I'm not trying to be insulting, she's a little bit on the larger side. She's a female. He goes, well, the next time we come to Dotham, we get you in the ring and run around with you or something like that. And she goes, do I look like a wrestler? And then he said something like, you want to wrestle with these guys? And I'm like, what am I watching here?
Yeah. It was hideous.
And I love Joe Kazana. I mean, he's been on the show multiple times. Great dude. And I think he's willing to do whatever Billy wants him to do because he's trying to help the company grow. I think he has the best intentions. Country gentleman, AJ Kazana, big fan of his. He's been on the show. Good dude. Fits the role. Classic NWA type wrestler. Love it. Love AJ Kazana. Casey Kazana, I still think he needs to grow up a little bit more and have some more time under his belt. Silas Mason's a goddamn hero of the NWA. He's the best thing that didn't come from the WWE or, you know, the Performance Center or whatever. He is so good every time I see him. And they wasted all of that on this segment where nobody looked good, nobody got over, nothing expanded any kind of storyline. And this is the kind of shit that I wish someone would say, Billy, Daddy, this doesn't make any damn sense. Sorry, it's been hard times.
Yeah, and both your joke and that segment were hard times.
Screw you, buddy. That's a hilarious joke. I'm on fire tonight.
Yeah. Anyway,
somebody should set this program on fire.
What did I say about fixing stuff? Give me a match or a hammer. Fire could fix this show.
My uncle's a hammer.
Oh.
That's a deep dive for the long-time listeners. All right.
That is a Alliance Guys deep cut.
that was way better than it. Like, did you practice that? Because that was really good, Jaden. It's really good.
No, that was purely off of the cuff.
All right. Over Metal is trying to get us back on the topic of power, which okay, we could do that. Crazy Steve versus Damien Fenrier, I think is how you pronounce his last name, was match of the night. Brother, that wasn't just match of the night. That's the best match I've seen on Power all year. That is what I'm talking about. Like, again, I agree with what Jaden said. I agree with DKM. Like, it's not just a match, but damn it, this was a really fun, entertaining match. Damien Frenier looked like $1 million. We saw him just a few weeks ago, and he looked okay. He looked good. I'm like, oh, this guy's got I think we could see some good things with him. Damn, he looked good against Crazy Steve. And I know Crazy Steve is a talented wrestler. It's not his first rodeo. He's been around for 20 years in the world of sport. But he had a really good match with this kid. And I enjoyed it a lot. And it almost made up for the KFC Joe segment. So, DKM, I know sometimes I'm overtly positive, but you tell me, am I crazy on this one? Was this a good match?
I didn't like it as much as you and Rick seem to have. I didn't dislike it. I thought it was an okay match, but nothing about it just struck me as as, oh man, this is awesome. I'd like to see this every week. That being said, nothing struck me as, oh God, this sucks. Never do this again. So I mean, I thought it was a good little TV match. Don't know that I have much more praise for it than that.
Okay.
All right, since Jaden's not going to pay me the $100, I found this interesting. I was looking up that Smoky Mountain thing, and so, and one thing they go School of Morton, is moving forward, and Ricky Morton will no longer be a part of it, and that's where they're doing the Smoky Mountain
Okay.
Pro. But when you read Ricky Morton's announcement, it's closing my school.
Yeah.
And so he thanks his partners and talks about it. So as far as Ricky Morton's concerned, School Morton is basically dead. I think someone's taking the ashes and rebuilding this.
Well, I mean, to the point of Ricky, the school is closed because it won't be called School of Morton anymore. It'll be called Smoky Mountain, apparently, which, but
Same initial, SM.
What's that?
Same initial, SM. School of Morton, Smoky Mountain.
Yeah, and that it's probably done on purpose, right? But still, in Ricky's mind, you're right. It's gone. In their mind, it is gone. It's legitimately something else.
So, but anyway, getting back to the match, yeah, I mean, it was a good little TV match. That's my high praise for it. So,
all right, Rick, tell Jaden or tell DCam he's wrong.
He's wrong. You're wrong. I don't know why.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Siding with Jay is very dangerous.
I think that.
And look, I'll be the first to admit that you two have the right to be wrong.
The funny thing is, I don't pay close enough attention to Crazy Steve. I haven't. But every time I see him, I'm wildly impressed. And this match was, holy crap. This match was, I had a lot of fun watching this match. Literally. I was watching it while I was working, and it pulled me away from my work because of all the noise and excitement going on in the crowd, and on the the crowd was really, the whole crowd throughout the entire show was really into the matches, it seemed, as well, which you don't hear all the time on an NWA broadcast.
You do when they're in Dotham, though. That's a key. Dotham is very kind to the NWA.
It was. I thought it was a fun match. I gotta. I don't watch enough of Crazy Steve. Like I said, I've seen him in TNA a few times, but every time I see him, I'm always impressed.
I kind of feel the same. I kind of feel the same way about that, and I'm not. I didn't watch TNA when Crazy Steve was in TNA and had a lot of his success. I think the first time I saw Crazy Steve was at the NWA 70th anniversary show when Josephus brought out Crazy Steve, and I want to say it was Shannon Moore, punk rock Shannon Moore, against Jack Stane and Crimson. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of Crimson's name. And they were there for cannon fodder because Jax and Crimson just suplexed him around the ring, and that was it. But I've seen him now 3 times lately, and he has been very impressive to me. And like I said, Fenrir was good and a lot better than I remember him being from the last time he was on Power. Fair. That makes me laugh. All right. So then that takes us to tonight's main event, and not a lot of again. They it's weird how they build up matches, right? Because I'm sure they didn't know when they ended the TV tapings in Tampa that this is what would be what lead off the show, or be the main event for the show, first episode of Power. Coming back. Anyways, they could have built this up. you've got the Wrecking Ball Legursky's finally out on his own. He had a chance to win the world title and failed, and he's just that super over baby face right now, and just give the fans a reason to cheer him even more and say, hey, I'm taking this career seriously now. No one's going to hold me back, and with the fans by my side, I'm going to go win the title. Anything would have been better than just, we got this match, national title on the line. With that being said, it was a really good match too.
Yeah.
I think single wrestler Wrecking Ball Legursky is so much fun to watch. I did like the Fixers initially, but then I thought the act got old, and I was like, it's time to do something. Either split them up or turn them face or turn them heel. Just do something, because they left him in that tweener role for far too long. Anyways, every time I see Legursky as a singles wrestler, I am so impressed by how good he is. And we saw it, last week when we watched Wrecking Ball Legursky versus what's his name? Jaden, help me out.
Tyson Maddox. We saw, and that was a really good match outside of the NWA ring. But then Jaden and I saw Wrecking Ball at Crockett Cup versus Jay Bradley, and that was another really good match from Wrecking Ball. And then you saw him this week on Power, and the fans did get behind him. But just imagine if they had some sort of vignette on last week's Power leading up to this. I'm finally getting my shot. I think their fans would have been a little bit more excited about it. Well, I mean, let me rephrase that. I guess they wouldn't, because they wouldn't have seen it, but I think it would have been better for the TV audience.
Yeah. This was a fun match. I thought it was. I love Mims, dude. I think it's great because he's, big, strong Mims, and him against Wrecking Ball. They really started off really good, and obviously I didn't think he was going to win the belt, which I would hope for, but it ended up being just a fun match. And of course, the ending was they made it. What do they say, that a fan had jumped the barricade?
Yeah, that was the first call. Was it was a fan.
Yeah, and then what's his face? The hell's the other Fixer? Jay Bradley came in, and he had a hoodie and mask on, and then Whip was there. They were attacking Wrecking Ball. I thought it was a good ending to the match too, to the to add drama to the storyline. I thought it was very good.
Yeah, I think you liked it, DKM. I think you liked that one. So, what did you think of it?
Oh yeah, that's the type of match I like. Two big, strong guys acting like two big, strong guys. And not just that, but the match itself was telling different stories as it was going on, and as it ended. And it ended the way it needed to end. The heel champ got a cheap win, even if he wasn't the one behind it. There was the outside interference. He got the win. Mims needed the win more than Legursky needed the win. And then Bradley had the chain, which I'm assuming this all set up the chain match, which was that Crockett Cup, wasn't it? Didn't they do a chain match at Crockett Cup? Yeah. And so this was setting up something for Crockett Cup also, but unlike the first one, where I didn't care. This one I care a little bit more, because I saw a story progression that was kind of outside of the match itself, if you understand what I'm saying. And so we saw a lot here. We saw Mims in a really good match. We saw Legursky in a really good match. We saw the two of them. We saw G's playing the right type of role, doing the right type of things when he was out there.
Yeah.
Sticking his nose where it didn't belong at the right time. We saw Bradley come in and cost his former partner the match. We saw him attack him afterwards. This was very basic, simple wrestling storytelling. The crowd was into it. they played well to the crowd without necessarily playing to the crowd. You know, they did what they needed to do to get over the match, to get themselves over, and to set up some future stuff. Because now you fast forward to the Crockett Cup spoiler in 1 and 3, 2, 1. Legursky wins the chain match, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I think it does. And so anyway, what we have then is the possibility of getting a rematch between these two now. Because that's kind of what you want to see now. They had a good match. Legursky had to go take care of business. Mims exercised one of his demons. So now let's see the two of them match up again. Now, I'm not saying the NWA is smart enough to do that. But this match tells me that they're smart enough to do things in wrestling that do work, that will attract somebody like even me, you know, the bitter old grumpy dude that yells at clouds. Okay. You're doing something there that I see as being right. It looked to me like the people in the show were enjoying it.
Right.
So, I mean, this isn't like, oh, Devin, he likes stuff that nobody else likes. I mean, there are plenty of people out there that seem to enjoy this. This did stuff. And so, hey, I thought if you get rid of the bullshit, you go back to simple backstage interviews, you stop the crap of the announcers being involved in it and the interviewers being involved in it, and then you let wrestlers be wrestlers, announcers be announcers, referees be referees, and actually count to 5 if they know how, and you go from there. This had everything that you need for a good wrestling match. So why can't they do this shit on a regular basis?
I think you guys giving them too much credit. I think it's a similar principle as if you put enough monkeys in the room, they'll eventually write Shakespeare.
No, I don't. I mean, I give the guys a lot of credit because they're the ones that have the talent and they're able to do it. But there was also nothing that was really overcomplicated. There were no stupid rules. This wasn't a blood and grits match. This wasn't a what was it, mimosa match?
It's Jericho and Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, whatever. And it was just a wrestling match between a champion defending the title, a heel champion defending the title against a face challenger that the fans love. And, he got screwed by a person that they're doing a storyline with. What did JR say? Wrestling's not difficult. Give me someone to cheer, someone to boo, and a reason for them to be in the ring.
Well, and again, siding with you, Jaden, or siding with DK against you, Jaden, is this one felt different, whereas I don't feel like this was dumb luck because the formula lends itself to building up for the Crockett Cup. And it was the second time that night that the implications of tonight's show impacted Crockett Cup. It set up the Clones to be the number 2 team, the number 2 seed for Crockett Cup. Whatever that storyline was, we got it. I mean, even the finals of that match led directly to the finals of the Crockett Cup. It was pretty interesting foreshadowing, actually. And then later, you've got the Jay Bradley interfering on behalf of Black G's to give him the victory over Wrecking Ball. And the way that they did it too is Wrecking Ball took the loss, but still looked strong. It gave Mims another solid victory, and it continued the storyline between Bradley and Legursky. Now they have a reason for that stipulation. Remember, when we were at the Crockett Cup, at that point, we didn't even know that they were feuding, let alone why it was a chain match, and they're paying that off. They're building it up, which I have to give them some credit for it. It's something that they haven't done consistently in the past. I hope it's part of the future plans. I think Jaden just lost his connection. We'll talk to you next week, Jaden. Hope you have a good one. Okay, so that, I mean, do you guys disagree, DK, Rick? I mean,
No,
am I on point or am I off here?
I
Tell me
think
I'm
you're-
wrong. Tell me I'm right.
I think you're on point. You're absolutely correct.
So for that reason, I kind of felt like this again. That was a good main event, and I understand why DK is a little upset about it, because it felt like if it was that easy, why weren't we getting it all along?
Yes, we should be getting stuff like that all along. It's these. I mean, Legursky could work, and I mean, so can Mims. You know, they put together a very, very, very good match.
Yeah, I was happy with it. And like I said, this was an interesting case. I watched until this match live on TikTok, and then I pulled the plug because I had nobody watching with me. So I just was watching it on X, and I'm like, you know, this was a pretty good main event for this show. And you know what? I liked all the matches. I understand what you said, Rick, that you're not into the multiple man elimination matches. And I get what DK was also saying, like, you know, this isn't the way to crown the number 2 team. I agree with both of those statements, but I also feel like at least it served a purpose.
Yeah.
Everything tonight, wrestling wise, served a purpose. It was building to something else. The promos did not do that. So I don't know. Rick, what grade would you have given this week's Power?
Oh, jeez. I'd have to say I'm going to give it a solid B, wrestling wise. Wrestling wise, points taken away for the horrific segments in commentary. I guess it should be a C with it. I'm being generous with the despite the horrific commentary and the segments. So, but the wrestling wise, I think more than made up for all the negatives that were part of the show.
And DK, what did you think about it?
Overall, it was a C minus, D plus. The skits were so bad. The commentary was so bad. I didn't like the multi-person match. I didn't care about the Crazy Steve match. I'm not a Crazy Steve fan. Like I know Jaden likes him and stuff like that, but I'm not. I'm not the biggest Crazy Steve fan. So that one didn't move me as much as it did others. And then again, the final match, loved almost everything about it. But again, that pissed me off because why isn't this what we get?
Yeah.
And so, I'd give the last match and storyline an A minus, but the rest of the show didn't do it for me. It was a little pitchy dog.
Like, what are you talking? Oh, okay, I get it. I mean, look, when you peel away the bad stuff, it was a great show. But you have to sit through the great show. You have to sit through the bad parts to see the great show, and then it's no longer a great show. So, I mean, the wrestling, I gave it a good B too, A minus. Like I said, I really, really much enjoyed Fenrir versus Crazy Steve, and I think that Fenrir, if I'm saying it correctly, we're talking about potential challengers for Alex Taylor in the junior heavyweight title. He'd be a guy that'd be first on my list, or maybe second. But going back to the show, it had its rough spots for sure, and it wasn't exactly those promos really kind of hurt the value of the show, and I don't think they understand that yet. And what's gonna have to happen is someone's gonna finally have to stop watching the show and people are gonna have to, in volume, stop watching the show, and maybe that'll change it. Because as long as they're still pulling 70K of viewers on X, I don't think they care.
Sheesh.
Do you think they're at a stage where they need to kind of do a reset like they did a couple of years ago? Or the world title dominated by EC3 and then Latimer from last year. Kenzie's been champion for 2 years now almost.
Yeah.
Will be by the time we get to the anniversary. It'll be around 2 years. The titles that are Murdoch's, they've been champions also for at least a year. Assuming they're still champion. They've been champions for a year now.
Yeah.
So, the only titles that have changed hands are probably titles that nobody gives a crap about, and the women's TV title and the women's tag team title.
Mm-hmm.
Max screwed the men's TV title over while she held it. They held it, excuse me. And Carson Drake, I just didn't like. I don't know that they were bad as a TV champion.
All right, fair.
But, I don't enjoy his matches. And then he held it for the 7, which, like, if there's anybody who should have never held it for the 7, it was Carson Drake.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you put it on Ricky Starks and take the title off 2 days later and then leave it on Carson Drake long enough to get 7 defenses to challenge Tom Latimer? Because that was a match I never wanted to see and will main event this probably in 4 weeks. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, I almost feel like they're kind of in a rut.
Yeah.
And now Taylor's helped been junior heavyweight champion for a long time too, and they haven't had any interesting challengers for him recently.
I mean, there hasn't been any junior heavyweight matches as identified as. I think right now when you look at the NWA, I don't disagree that they're in a rut. I think something has to happen. I don't think a short-term run with an outsider winning the 10 pounds of gold would hurt the NWA in the long run. And I don't even think it would be a bad idea. Like, obviously, I know I might be in the minority, but I was kind of hoping that we would have seen a quick title change at Crockett Cup or prior to Crockett Cup, where Latimer would lose the belt but regained it a few days later. Not a long run without it, but just something to break up the monotony to like you said, kind of get out of the rut. I really feel like they really missed the ball by not trying to negotiate with the WWE for more dates with Kenzie and putting the belt on Kenzie. But I feel as a whole, Kenzie should have lost that title a while ago. She's a phenomenal athlete. She's a phenomenal performer. She's gotten very stale. And we talk about this all the time, and I hope Noob is in the chat to hear me say this, but Natalia Markova should be a 2-time women's champion already. And if Markova had won the title from Kenzie and they traded that title back and forth, it certainly, I think, would at least break up the monotony. I don't need any of my champions to hold a belt for 360 plus days. It was special. It was unique. It was awesome when Roman Reigns did it. And for the NWA, it was pretty damn special when Nick Aldis did it. But at this point, I don't need every single champion to have this miraculous infinite title run as champion. I don't think it helps the title. I don't think it helps the brand. And I feel like Nick Aldis as world champion with, sharing the title with guys like Cody Rhodes or maybe even a Trevor Murdoch or even, Matt Cardona, I felt would have been more impressive and interesting than just the long reign that he had as champion. And I feel like that's what the NWA needs to do now. I think Tom, great world champion. has done almost everything you can do. But at this point, he needs to lose to win that title back to build his aura, his max points. I think he's done all he can do now as champion. He needs an obstacle. He needs to lose. He needs to come back. He needs to win the title again and have that secondary run. And Kenzie, same thing. Same exact thing. She's done all she can as champion.
I don't mind the world championship being held 9 months to a year and a half, steadily. But certainly you don't need every title to be along. That's why you have the other titles, so that you can switch them more often. And then you have the occasional special run. Camille had a special run as champion at 800 days or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not special if Kenzie gets up to 700 and something or 800 herself.
Exactly.
And so and Camille did a big thing about being the one time. Well, Kenzie could be on her second title reign by now and be looking at her third. Give me some. I mean, I'm not a fan of putting the title on somebody 28 times. I'm not into like the Jerry Lawler Memphis or the World Wrestling Council Carlos Colon.
Sure.
The guy that held the title 29 times and he didn't even lose it half the times. It was just held up and he would regain it.
Yeah.
And so, look, I'm not asking for that. But, sure, you're world champion. Maybe you want someone steady. Maybe once every 5 to 6 years, you hot shot the title. And so, put it on, have a Cody Rhodes situation. And it should be a Cody Rhodes situation. But I don't know that. Sure, if you have the occasional year-long run with the junior heavyweight champion, that's great. But then all the other titles should be changing hands about. I feel like the average title reign should be 9 months.
Okay.
Give or take. And an average. So, maybe some are 3 months, maybe some are 12. But let's get a 7 to 9 month title reign out of somebody on average, and again, you can put the title back on people.
100%. Yeah. I feel like I'm yelling that out into the void for the last few months, and I'm glad you haven't been, you've had some time off, but the sentiment hasn't changed apparently. I mean, Rick, is that how you feel too, or do you have
about
different
championships? I think the world title's a little bit different, or maybe the women's world title, but I don't want to say lesser titles, but the other titles, I should say, they could change a little bit more frequently. I mean, I think something that a champion proves that he's a champion by holding on to that title, type of a thing, or like the major title, like the NWA world title, the NWA women's world title. The other titles could change a little bit more frequently. 3, 4, 6, whatever. You know what I mean? Because that's how it was back in the day, and that's how wrestling was built. Like storylines were built back in the day, and then that's pretty much it. I mean, Flair would hold the belt a year, then lose it, then win it back a few months later. Stuff like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I don't think Power was a bad show. I think it was one of the better shows that they've had, but still, I mean, things need to change to get to, I think, a realistic, competitive, interesting program. I just don't think we're there yet, and I'm not sure what it's going to take to get there. But let's call this a night, gentlemen. I do appreciate your time and hanging out with me tonight. And those in the chat, thanks for hanging out for almost 2 hours talking about NWA and Power and my guy, R-Truth. Rick, I know you have had some really good interviews up lately, and I think you have a few more that are getting ready to be released. Tell us what's going on.
I just released my interview that I did with the legendary Tony Gurria. That one was a lot of fun. And we got next week, we got the former AWA star, the illustrious Johnny Stewart. Let's see who else we got there. Moondog Splat, Goliath, whatever you want to call him. He was former Memphis star and USWA star. One of the only surviving Moondog still in existence. And let's see what else we got here. We have a couple other good things. I just released a bunch of footage that I had sitting around that I found on in my my cloud drive or whatever you call it. And I just uploaded probably like 30 videos today. So if you guys get bored, go check out some stuff that I filmed myself, or the unedited version of my interview with Gene Ligon had been released, a whole full 2.5 hours.
Wow.
That did. Yeah. So there's about 45 minutes that didn't make it to the podcast version. So, there's a lot of really great stuff coming up and being released right now.
I think that's pretty cool.
One more thing. And subscribe and help me get to 3,000 subscribers. Please, for the love of God, help me.
For the love of God. You're not at 3,000 yet?
No. Hey, it's only been a week since the last time I brought it up. So, it's
well,
not
no,
easy.
I'm surprised we haven't, the Alliance family hasn't got you up and over the edge, because I say it like there's 3,000 of us. There's like maybe 100 if we're lucky. But yeah, no, let's, if you guys haven't, please do so. Rick does produce great content. That's why he's helping us out over here on this show. And I think I listened to the interview last week. I forgot the wrestler's name.
Chuck Coates, I think it was.
Yeah, Chuck Coates. Yeah. And I sat there, I put it on while I was working, and I was listening to him. I'm like, I'm not going to say anything negative about him, but it was a great interview. It was very enjoyable, and I enjoyed it. I think you guys would too. I got to do an interview this week. I spoke to our current NWA Women's Tag Team Champion and United Wrestling Network World Champion, Big Mama. And I had a lot of fun chatting with her, and that's also available right up here on YouTube. Next week, we're going to have a bevy of guests on the Alliance Blog podcast, so stay tuned for that. Those interviews go on YouTube and on Spotify, and where all your podcasting partnerships are at. That's where our audio interviews go. So that's what I've got going for me this week with the Alliance Blog. DKM, is there anything you would like to add? How can people follow you on the socials? Are you on TikTok yet?
TikTok? I am on TikTok, but I mainly use it to watch others.
Dad jokes?
What?
Dad jokes?
I do watch dad jokes on TikTok. There's this one guy. He's really, really, really funny. I watch his dad jokes.
Now I know you're lying.
Oh, I didn't say it was you.
Son of a...
But I didn't say it wasn't you either. So
I appreciate that.
We'll just say there's some guy who I watch their dad jokes, and other than that, IHWE is starting to talk to some people about at least getting some championships filled. The earliest we'll probably run is we might run a late fall show. As you know, had some health issues and some other things. Took a sabbatical for a while, but we're getting going again. And so keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, unless you're trying to sleep, in which case, close your eyes because it's easy to know.
That's sound advice. Sound advice. Guys, I want to thank you again for hanging out with us on this Thursday night. You have a lot of viewing options. I appreciate you making us part of yours. That's going to do it for us this week. I'm sure we'll have a lot of great entertainment coming from everywhere or nowhere. I don't know. I'm tired. Let's call it a night. We'll see you guys at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance Blog. And until next time, we